This lesson is on the law of cosines, and our objective is to be able to use that to solve triangle sides and angles in a triangle. We've used the law of sines already, which, if you recall, is the sine of an angle over its opposite side. So sine of A over A, sine of B over B, sine of C over C. We set up a proportion with two of those ratios and solve for something missing. Now in our triangle, that could be given two angles and a side, or it could be in a triangle if we're given an angle and two of the sides that are not around it. So that would be side-side angle. That will be a case that we'll talk about later as a special case of the law of sines. But we need a tool. What if we're in a different situation? What if we're given all three sides of the triangle, A, B, and C, so all three of the sides? How do we do that? Because in the ratios, not one of the ratios is complete. Or what if instead of that, we're given two of the sides, like for instance, given side A and side B, and the included angle C. That's the one that's right between them. We don't have a complete ratio to set up to do the law of sines, so we need a new tool. And that new tool is going to be called the law of cosines. It's based on using the cosine because it's got side, angle, side covered with that included angle, or side, side, side covered where we can solve for the missing pieces of the triangle. So as we set up the law of cosines, we're going to start with, let's start with A. So if we have A as the side we're going to use, we're going to set up A squared on one side of the equation. And what you should notice in this equation, it's going to be equal to B squared plus C squared, the two other sides squared, minus 2 times B times C, the other two sides, times the cosine of that angle A that's opposite that side A. So anytime you have a side, you need the angle opposite it on opposite sides of the equation to set up. Now, that would work for any of the pairs of angles and sides. If you want to do it with B, just remember, if you have B squared by itself, then you need to have cosine of B on the opposite side. If you want to do it with C squared, then you want to use cosine of C in your formula. But this will help us solve for missing pieces in these different cases that the law of sines doesn't work. Now it's important to recognize that when you use the law of cosines, it's best that you work with the longest side first, because that's opposite the biggest angle, and that helps us just in case we have an obtuse angle. The law of cosines can handle an obtuse angle. The law of sines, you have more difficulties with that. So that's why you want to make sure you take care of the longest side on the left side of the equation first. So these are the three ways we solve triangles. The first way is right triangle trig when we're given a right angle. That's the type of situation where you use what we know with right triangle trig. Law of sines, on the other hand, is when we're given two angles, like angle, angle, side, which is the non-included side, or angle, side, angle with the side included between two angles, or side, side, angle with the angle not included between two sides. That would be law of sines. We're going to talk about the law of cosines today, and that's side, 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 all three sides given, or side, angle, side given to you, the angle between the two sides. When you use the law of cosines, it's important to recognize that after you use it, it's best then to go on and use the law of sines after you use the law of cosines. It's usually easier that way, and by the time we solve for one of the other pieces of the triangle, we have enough information then to use the law of sines to get the other sides and angles in the triangle. In this sample problem, notice we are given two sides and the included angle. So in this case, as I draw my triangle, angle A is given to us, so that's going to be 50 degrees. And then we're given side B opposite angle B, which is 15. And then we're also given side C, which is opposite angle C, which is 30. Now, when we set this up, we're going to solve for the unknowns. We don't know side A, we don't know angle B, and we don't know angle C. Those are the ones that we're going to find in this triangle. So that's our next step. Looking at this though, we're going to use the law of cosines with the A side and the cosine of A in it, because that's what's given to us with the angle. So A squared equals that 15 squared plus the 30 squared minus 2 times those sides given, 15 times 30, times the cosine of that angle that's given to us, which is 50 degrees. Now that we can do on our calculator. So A squared is going to equal this calculated out. So use your calculator to come up with that number, which in this case is 546.49, etc. It's a long decimal. Then we just take the square root of both sides. We get our answer to be approximately 23.4 when we do it to 1 decimal place.